Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Prayers with Bobby. We'll be going through the book of Job again today. Hope that everyone's having a blessed day, and we'll end the stream by doing some intercessory prayer, reading through intentions that people leave, and I might just say a little general prayer also, just depending on how I'm feeling. Okay, so chapter 21, Job's sixth reply. Then Job answered and said, "At least listen to my words, and let that be the consolation you offer. Bear with me while I speak, and after I have spoken, you can mock. Is my complaint toward any human being? Why should I not be impatient? Look at me and be appalled. Put your hands over your mouth. When I think of it, I am dismayed, and shuddering seizes my flesh. Why do the wicked keep on living, grow old, become mighty in power? Their progeny is secure in their sight. Their offspring are before their eyes. Their homes are safe, without fear, and the rod of God is not upon them. Their bulls breed without fail. Their cows calve and do not miscarry. They let their young run free like sheep. Their children skip about. They sing along with drum and lyre, and make merry to the sound of the pipe. They live out their days in prosperity, in tranquility go down to Sheol. Yet they say to God, 'Depart from us, for we have no desire to know your ways.' What is the Almighty that we should serve him? And what do we gain by praying to him? Their happiness is not in their own hands. The designs of the wicked are far from me. How often is the lamp of the wicked put out? How often does destruction come upon them? The portion God allots in his anger. Let them be like straw before the wind, like chaff the storm carries away. God is storing up the man's misery for his children. Let him requite the man himself, so that he knows it. Let his own eyes behold his calamity, and the wrath of the Almighty let him drink. For what interest has he in his family after him? When the number of his months is finished, can anyone teach God knowledge, seeing that he judges those on high? One dies in his full vigor, wholly at ease and content. His figure is full and nourished. His bones are moist with marrow. Another dies with a bitter spirit, never having tasted happiness. Alike they lie down in the dust, and worms cover them both. See, I know your thoughts, and the arguments you plot against me. For you say, where is the house of the great? And where the dwelling place of the wicked? Have you not asked the wayfarers, and do you not acknowledge the witness they give? On the day of calamity, the evil man is spared. On the day that wrath is released, who will charge him to his face about his conduct? And for what he has done, who will repay him? He is carried to the grave, and at his tomb they keep watch. Sweet to him are the clods of the valley. All humankind will follow after him. How empty the consolation you offer me. Your arguments remain a fraud." Moving on to part 4, the third cycle of speeches. Chapter 22, Eliphaz's third speech. Then Eliphaz the Temanite answered and said, "Can a man be profitable to God? Can a wise man be profitable to him? Does it please the Almighty that you are just? Does he gain if your ways are perfect? Is it because of your piety that he reproves you, that he enters into judgment with you? Is not your wickedness great? and your iniquity endless. You keep your relatives' goods in pledge unjustly, leave them stripped naked of their clothing. To the thirsty you give no water to drink, and from the hungry you withhold bread, as if the land belonged to the powerful, and only the privileged could dwell in it. You sent widows away empty-handed, and the resources of orphans are destroyed. Therefore snares are round about you, sudden terror makes you panic, or darkness you cannot see. A deluge of waters covers you. Does not God in the heights of the heavens behold the top of the stars, high though they are? Yet you say, what does God know? Can he judge through the thick darkness? Clouds hide him so that he cannot see, as he walks around the circuit of the heavens. Do you indeed keep to the ancient way trodden by the worthless? They were snatched before their time, their foundations a river swept away. They said to God, let us alone, and what can the Almighty do to us? Yet he had filled their houses with good things. The designs of the wicked are far from me. The just look on and are glad, and the innocent deride them. Truly, our enemies are destroyed, and what was left of them, fire has consumed. Settle with him and have peace. That way, good shall come to you. Receive instruction from his mouth, and place his words in your heart. If you return to the Almighty, you will be restored. If you put iniquity far from your tent, and treat raw gold as dust, the fine gold of Ophir as pebbles in the wadi, then the Almighty himself shall be your gold, and your sparkling silver. For then you shall delight in the Almighty. You shall lift up your face toward God. Entreat him, and he will hear you, and your vows you shall fulfill. What you decide shall succeed for you, and upon your ways light shall shine. For when they are brought low, you will say, it is pride. But downcast eyes he saves. He will deliver whoever is innocent. You shall be delivered if your hands are clean. Chapter 23, Job's seventh reply. Then Job answered and said, today especially my complaint is bitter. His hand is heavy upon me in my groanings. Would that I knew how to find him, that I might come to his dwelling. I would set out my case before him, fill my mouth with arguments. I would learn the words he would answer me, understand what he would say to me. Would he contend against me with his great power? No, he himself would heed me. There an upright man might argue with him, and I would once and for all be delivered from my judge. But if I go east, he is not there, or west, I cannot perceive him. The north enfolds him, and I cannot catch sight of him. The south hides him, and I cannot see him. Yet he knows my way. If he tested me, I should come forth like gold. My foot has always walked in his steps. I have kept his way and not turned aside. From the commands of his lips I have not departed. The words of his mouth I have treasured in my heart. But once, sorry there, slipped. But once he decides, who can contradict him? What he desires, that he does. For he will carry out what is appointed for me, and many such things he has in store. Therefore I am terrified before him. When I take thought, I dread him. For it is God who has made my heart faint, the Almighty who has terrified me. Yes, would that I had vanished in darkness, hidden by the thick gloom before me. Chapter 24. Why are times not set by the Almighty, and why do his friends not see his days? People remove landmarks, and steal herds and pasture them. The donkeys of orphans they drive away. They take the widow's ox for a pledge. They force the needy off the road. All the poor of the land are driven into hiding. Like wild donkeys in the wilderness, they go forth to their task of seeking prey. The steppe provides food for their young. They harvest fodder in the field and glean in the vineyard of the wicked. They pass the night naked, without clothing. They have no covering against the cold. They are drenched with rain from the mountains, and for want of shelter, they cling to the rock. Orphans are snatched from the breast. Infants of the needy are taken in pledge. They go about naked, without clothing, and famished they carry the sheaves. Between the rows they press out the oil. They tread the wine presses, yet are thirsty. In the city the dying groan, and the souls of the wounded cry out. Yet God does not treat it as a disgrace. They are rebels against the light. They do not recognize its ways. They do not stay in its paths. When there is no light, the murderer rises to kill the poor and needy. In the night, he acts like a thief. The eye of the adulterer watches for the twilight. He says, "No eye will see me." He puts a mask over his face. In the dark, he breaks into houses. By day, they shut themselves in. They do not know the light. Indeed, for all of them, morning is deep darkness. Then they recognize the terrors of deep darkness. He is swift on the surface of the water. Their portion in the land is accursed. They do not turn aside by way of the vineyards. Drought and heat snatch away the snow waters. Sheol, those who have sinned, may the womb forget him. May the worm find him sweet. May he no longer be remembered, and may wickedness be broken like a tree. May his companion be barren, unable to give birth. May his widow not prosper. He sustains the mighty by his strength. To him who rises without assurance of his life, he gives safety and support, and his eyes are on their ways. They are exalted for a while, and then are no more. Laid low, like everyone else, they are gathered up. Like ears of grain, they shrivel. If this be not so, who can make me a liar and reduce my words to nothing? Chapter 25. Bildad's third speech. Then Bildad the Shuhite answered and said, "Dominion and dread are his who brings about harmony in his heavens. Is there any numbering of his troops? Yet on which of them does his light not rise? How can anyone be in the right against God? Or how can any born of woman be innocent? Even the moon is not bright, and the stars are not clean in his eyes. How much less a human being who is but a worm, a mortal who is only a maggot?" Chapter 26. Job's reply. Then Job answered and said, "What help you give to the powerless, what strength to the feeble man. How you give counsel to one without wisdom. How profuse is the advice you offer. With whose help have you uttered those words? Whose breath comes forth from you?" The shades beneath writhe in terror, the watchers and their inhabitants. Naked before him is Sheol, and Abaddon has no covering. He stretches out Zaphon over the void, and suspends the earth over nothing at all. He binds up the waters in his clouds, yet the cloud is not split by their weight. He holds back the appearance of the full moon by spreading his clouds before it. He has marked out a surface, a circle on the surface of the deep, as the boundary of light and darkness. The pillars of the heavens tremble and are stunned at his thunderous rebuke. By his power he stilled the sea. By his skill he crushed Rahab. By his wind the heavens were made clear. His hand pierced the fleeing serpent. Lo, these are but at the outlines of his ways, and what a whisper of a word we hear of him. Who can comprehend the thunder of his power? Chapter 27, Job's reply. Job took up his theme again and said, As God lives, who takes away my right? The Almighty, who has made my life bitter. So long as I still have life breath in me, the breath of God in my nostrils, my lips shall not speak falsehood, nor my tongue utter deceit. Far be it from me to account you right. Till I die, I will not renounce my innocence. My justice I maintain, and I will not relinquish it. My heart does not reproach me for any of my days. Let my enemy be as the wicked, and my adversary as the unjust. For what hope has the impious when he is cut off, when God requires his life? Will God then listen to his cry? When distress comes upon him, if he delights in the Almighty, and calls upon God constantly, I will teach you what is in God's hand, and the way of the Almighty I will not conceal. Look, you yourselves have all seen it. Why do you spend yourselves in empty words? This is the portion of the wicked with God, the heritage oppressors receive from the Almighty. Though his children be many, the sword awaits them. His descendants shall want for bread. His survivors shall be buried in death. Their widows shall not weep. Though he heap up silver like dust, and store away mounds of clothing, what he has stored the righteous shall wear, and the innocent shall divide the silver. He builds his house as of cobwebs, or like a booth put up by a watchman. He lies down a rich man one last time. He opens his eyes. Nothing is there. Terror floods over him like water. At night, the tempest carries him off. The east wind seizes him, and he is gone. It sweeps him from his place. It hurls itself at him without pity. As he tries to flee from its power, it claps its hands at him and whistles at him from its place. Part 5, the poem on wisdom. Chapter 26. Where is wisdom to be found? There is indeed a mine for silver, and a place for refining gold. Iron is taken from the earth, and copper smelted out of stone. He sets a boundary for the darkness. The farthest confines he explores. He breaks open a shaft far from habitation, unknown to human feet. Suspended, far from people, they sway. The earth, though out of it comes forth bread, is in fiery upheaval underneath. Its stones are the source of lapis lazuli. And there is gold in its dust. The path no bird of prey knows, nor has the hawk's eyes seen it. The proud beasts have not trodden it, nor has the lion gone that way. He sets his hand to the flinty rock and overturns the mountains at their root. He splits channels in the rocks. His eyes behold all that is precious. He dams up the sources of the streams and brings hidden things to light. As for wisdom, where can she be found? Where is the place of understanding? Mortals do not know her path, nor is she to be found in the land of the living. The deep says, she is not in me, and the sea says, she is not with me. Solid gold cannot purchase her, nor can her price be paid with silver. She cannot be bought with gold of Ophir, with precious onyx or lapis lazuli. Gold or crystals cannot equal her, nor can golden vessels be exchanged for her. Neither coral nor crystal should be thought of. The value of wisdom surpasses pearls. Ethiopian topaz does not equal her, nor can she be weighed out for pure gold. As for wisdom, where does she come from? Where is the place of understanding? She is hidden from the eyes of every living thing. Even from the birds of the air she is concealed. Abaddon and death say, only by rumor have we heard of her. But God understands the way to her. It is he who knows her place. For he beholds the end of the earth and sees all that is under the heavens. When he weighed out the wind and measured out the waters, when he made a rule for the rain and a path for the thunderbolts. Then he saw wisdom and appraised her, established her and searched her out. And to the mortals he said, see, the fear of the Lord is wisdom, and avoiding evil is understanding. Part 6. Job's final summary of his cause. Chapter 29. Job took up his theme again and said, oh, that I were as in the months past, as in the days when God watched over me, while he kept his lamp shining above my head, and by his light I walked through darkness. As I was in my flourishing days, when God sheltered my tent, when the Almighty was still with me, and my children were round about me, when my footsteps were bathed in cream, and the rock flowed with streams of oil. Whenever I went out to the gate of the city and took my seat in the square, the young men saw me and withdrew, and the elders rose up and stood. Officials refrained from speaking and covered their mouths with their hands. The voice of the princes was silenced, and their tongues stuck to the roofs of their mouths. The ear that heard blessed me. The eye that saw acclaimed me. For I rescued the poor who cried out for help, the orphans and the unassisted. The blessing of those in extremity came upon me, and the heart of the widow I made joyful. I wore my righteousness like a garment. Justice was my robe and my turban. I was eyes to the blind and feet to the lame, was I. I was a father to the poor. The complaint of the stranger I pursued. And I broke the jaws of the wicked man. From his teeth I forced the prey. I said, in my own nest I shall grow old. I shall multiply years like the phoenix. My root is spread out to the waters. The dew rests by night on my branches. My glory is fresh within me, and my bow is renewed in my hand. For me they listened and waited. They were silent for my counsel. Once I spoke, they said no more, but received my pronouncement drop by drop. They waited for me as for the rain. They drank in my words like the spring rains. When I smiled on them, they could not believe it. They would not let the light of my face be dimmed. I decided their course and sat at their head. I lived like a king among the troops, like one who comforts mourners. Chapter 30. But now they hold me in derision, who are younger than I, whose fathers I should have disdained, to rank with the dogs of my flock. Such strength as they had meant nothing to me. Their vigor had perished. In want and emaciating hunger, they fled to the parched lands, to the desolate wasteland by night. They plucked saltwort and shrubs. The roots of the broom plant were their food. They were banished from the community. With an outcry like that against a thief, to dwell on the slopes of the wadis, in caves of sand and stone, among the bushes they brayed, under the nettles they huddled together. Irresponsible, of no account, they were driven out of the land. Yet now they sing of me in mockery. I have become a byword among them. They abhor me. They stand aloof. They do not hesitate to spit in my face. Because he has loosened my bowstring and afflicted me, they have thrown off restraint in my presence. On my right, the young rabble rise up. They trip my feet. They build their approaches for my ruin. They tear up my path. They promote my ruin. No helper is there against them. As through a wide breach they advance. Amid the uproar, they come on in waves. Terrors roll over me. My dignity is driven off like the wind, and my well-being vanishes like a cloud. And now my life ebbs away from me. Days of affliction have taken hold of me. At night he pierces my bones. My sinews have no rest. With great difficulty I change my clothes. The collar of my tunic fits around my waist. He has cast me into the mire. I have become like dust and ashes. I cry to you, but you do not answer me. I stand, but you take no notice. You have turned into my tormentor, and with your strong hand you attack me. You raise me up and drive me before the wind. I am tossed about by the tempest. Indeed, I know that you will return me to death, to the house destined for everyone alive. Yet should not a hand be held out to help a wretched person in distress? Did I not weep for the hardships of others? Was not my soul grieved for the poor? Yet when I looked for good, evil came. When I expected light, darkness came. My inward parts seethe and will not be stilled. Days of affliction have overtaken me. I go about in gloom without the sun. I rise in the assembly and cry for help. I have become a brother to jackals, a companion to ostriches. My blackened skin falls away from me. My very frame is scorched by the heat. My lyre is tuned to mourning, and my reed pipe to sounds of weeping. Chapter 31. I made a covenant with my eyes not to gaze upon a virgin. What portion comes from God above? What heritage from the Almighty on high? Is it not calamity for the unrighteous and woe for evildoers? Does he not see my ways and number all my steps? If I have walked in falsehood, and my foot has hastened to deceit, let God weigh me in the scales of justice. Thus will he know my innocence. If my steps have turned out of the way, and my heart has followed my eyes, or any stain clings to my hands, then may I sow, but another eat, and may my produce be rooted up. If my heart has been enticed toward a woman, and I have lain in wait at my neighbor's door, then may my wife grind for another, and may others kneel over her. For that would be heinous, a crime to be condemned, a fire that would consume down to Abaddon till it uprooted all my crops. Had I refused justice to my manservant or to my maidservant when they had a complaint against me, what then should I do when God rises up? What could I answer when he demands an account? Did he who made me in the belly make him? Did not the same one fashion us in the womb? If I have denied anything that the poor desired, or allowed the eyes of the widow to languish while I ate my portion alone, with no share in it for the fatherless, though like a father he has reared me from my youth, guiding me even from my mother's womb, if I have seen a wanderer without clothing, or a poor man without covering, whose limbs have not blessed me when warmed with the fleece of my sheep, if I have raised my hand against the innocent, because I saw that I had supporters at the gate. Then may my arm fall from the shoulder, my forearm be broken at the elbow. For I dread calamity from God, and his majesty will overpower me. Had I put my trust in gold, or called fine gold my security, or had I rejoiced that my wealth was great, or that my hand had acquired abundance, had I looked upon the light as it shone, or the moon in the splendor of its progress, and had my heart been secretly enticed to blow them a kiss with my hand, this too would be a crime for condemnation. For I should have denied God above, had I rejoiced at the destruction of my enemy, or exulted when evil came upon him. Even though I had not allowed my mouth to sin by invoking a curse against his life, had not the men of my tent exclaimed, "Who has not been filled with his meat?" No stranger lodged in the street, for I opened my door to wayfarers. Had I, all too human, hidden my sins and buried my guilt in my bosom, because I feared the great multitude and the scorn of the clans terrified me, then I should have remained silent and not come out of doors. Oh, that I had one to hear my case. Here is my signature. Let the Almighty answer me. Let my accuser write out his indictment. Surely I should wear it on my shoulder, or put it on me like a diadem. Of all my steps, I should give him an account. Like a prince, I should present myself before him. If my land has cried out against me, till its furrows wept together, if I have eaten its strength without payment, and grieved the hearts of its tenants, then let the thorns grow instead of wheat, and stinkweed instead of barley. The words of Job are ended. Okay, we can pause there on the readings. That was pretty great. A little working through of the book of Job. And now usually I would go through any prayer intentions people had left in the chat. Although today it looks as though there were no particular intentions that were left. So since there were no prayer intentions left in the chat, if anyone wants to leave a prayer intention now, you can go ahead and put it into the chat, and then we can go ahead and say a little prayer for it. And otherwise, I think I'm just going to say just a little prayer on my own of just intercession and things that I would like to see happen. Okay, so. Dear God, I always like to start by thanking you for the day and for the opportunity to experience the life that you've given me. In a sense of gratitude, I come to you, God, and with needs. And in particular today, I would like to ask for patience. And I would like to ask for patience, in particularly dealing with frustrating things or sort of just hot emotions, sort of being patient with myself, really. So God, I ask you to help me be patient and kind to myself and to others. And I also just pray for peace in general in a time of a bit of turmoil. I think it's important to pray for calmness and peace from God, who ultimately is the source of it. So, with all these things in our minds, in our heart, we offer them up to you, God, and we ask that you hear our prayer. Amen. That'll do it for the reading session today. and for the intercessory session as well. Had a great stream today. Very happy for anyone who came by. Thank you very much for saying hello. And hopefully I will see you in the next one.